if we listen to students intently, they will tell us what they need. And then our job is to, as I said before, is to be responsive to that and help them, or let's work with them to co-create those kinds of things. And they'll tell us. We had these nap pods, and we had the manufacturer said 20 minutes is how long a nap should be. So we did 20 minutes. We assessed that at the end of the semester, and the students said, I can't even relax in 20 minutes. Yeah. So we changed it to 45, and that works. So we have to listen to them.
What are some of the actions that the students have engaged in the UOC? Because even though it has a board of directors, you guys survey students beyond the board. What are some of the feedback over the years, in the 30 years you've been here, that has surprised you in a good way or a bad way? I'll share one of my reactions after, but I'm curious to hear what you have.
Let me see. When I think about, I don't know if I'm that surprised at anything that the students say. Because I try to go in with my eyes wide open and not come in with any preconceived notions. I look around a lot at popular culture on the outside, and what I see outside is what students want and what students are reacting to, whether it's the Me Too movement, whether it's the murder of George Floyd, whatever it is that's happening out there is also happening in here. And our job, and that's the beauty of a student union, is it's supposed to be nimble and responsive to the needs of students. So over time, it will morph into whatever the students want. So our services have changed dramatically just based on those needs. The students say, I don't need a post office here anymore. That doesn't work for me. But what I do need is a place where I can store my food. So once I get it from the food pantry, I don't want to have to carry it to class and carry it with me all day. I want to be able to store it somewhere and then pick it back up and when I'm ready to go home. So any of those things that come up for students, and I like to observe. I just like to go into student spaces and just kind of, as and really listen to what they're talking about and ask questions. I was like, I don't mean to intrude, but what do you think about this? And because you are just in their space, and you've asked, you're not making an assumption. They are very open and transparent with you, and from those conversations, that's where the spark gets. And our students come to us. They don't, all of the students on the board are like, well, Debra, we need to do something about this. That's how the whole idea of the wellness center came about.
That got me, was because the rec center and the wellness center kind of tied together. And when the proposal came to build the recreation center, which to this day, even though it's so many years old, it's still state of the art for a university campus, is that the students voted to tax themselves to build this thing. And these were students who were not going to be here when it was completed. And that blew me away. Is they felt so passionately that students needed a recreational center that wasn't just a gym. I hate, the rec center is not just a gym.
Absolutely not.
And it had to be environmentally responsible, not friendly, but responsible. And they were willing to pay that price. And I remember people on campus saying, "Oh, they'll never vote for that. They won't be here to see it." Those students voting for it, they're not going to be here to see it. That just, wow.
It was mind blowing, but I knew it was going to win.
I know.
I knew, but because I had been really listening to students intently over a couple of years about these issues, and we had a little small recreation center that was
in a space that was supposed to be a dining area before the earthquake.
So you know how small it was.
Yeah.
And we could only accommodate so many. And students had, and other students had, one of the things that we did is we took students to other campuses and said, look what they have. And they're like, well, why don't we have that? Well, I said, well, we could, but you all have to embrace that. You all have to take that responsibility on and become the ambassadors of those programs. And the students went out purposely not to convince people to vote yes, but to inform them what was possible. And so we have a campaign that we've always behind the scenes called Setting the Table. And that is our kind of internal logo or that we use because we set the table for future generations. And each student feels that responsibility. If somebody didn't set the table for you to have that recreation center, then we couldn't set it to have the basic needs suite. So each campaign builds on the prior one, and each group of students serves the next generation.
Tell our audience what a rec center and then the Oasis. I mean, it's sort of like this pathway that the students have mapped out for us. You start with the rec center, which explains what it is.
And the rec center has aquatics, so there's a pool. It has free weights and cardio. It has all kinds of personal training classes, spinning. It has boxing. We even had racquetball at one time, even though nobody plays racquetball anymore. It has yoga opportunities, anything that is recreation related. It also has a climbing wall.
But it's got that indoor track upstairs.
Absolutely.
The basketball courts and the volleyball courts. I mean, we could just
inside hockey ring and all of those things that any sport you can probably think of, students are doing it. They have intramurals.
But that sounds like in a gym, but when you see it visually, I mean, we have people who want to take Mercedes ads in front of it. It's not a box building.
No, and I think that's one of the things that's really has been really important to me is quality. And my personal philosophy is that our students deserve the same kind of quality, if not better, than you get at UCLA or USC or any other campus. I think that's important for us. And, if we build quality, then they will expect quality. And then they will create quality. And then they'll go back and impact their communities in the same way. So that was really important. And the Oasis Wellness Center is the same kind of facility.
But that's cutting edge. Not a lot of universities, even private universities, have an Oasis. Now, explain the Oasis.
The Oasis Wellness Center. We actually, one of the things about the USU is that we're very data driven. So we do a lot of assessment and we read a lot of other people's assessment. So the American College Health Association was an assessment that the health center did every 2 years on our campus. And the two things, we always are looking at where can we make impact. So we had our committee look at the data and say, where do you think the biggest challenges are here? And it came up with sleep, that students are not sleeping well, and stress, their inability to manage their stress. So I was like, what is it that we can do within the confines of the USU to do something that would impact that positively? So we had a joint committee with the health center, with faculty members from the College of Health and Human Development and the USU. A number of students were on that committee. And we thought, well, why can't we develop a wellness center? We have the student rec center, and that's great for people who like to work out. But there are other kinds of people who benefit from health in a different way. Where the rec center is loud, this place is quiet. Where you're very much connected technology wise in the rec center, you're not. You're unplugged in the wellness center. So we really kind of developed a program that was the antithesis of the student recreation center that served a different kind of clientele. The wellness center has nap pods and massage chairs and various outdoor rooms. It has a walking labyrinth, a Zen garden, a open fireplace area. We had therapy rooms where we did massage and acupuncture, chiropractic. And then we did nutrition and wellness classes, working with the various faculty members from Health and Human Development. So it was really a comprehensive package based on wellness. And it's part of the fees that students paid. So they get to use that.
I think it's revolutionary because you got the rec center, so you can be physically fit. You can take a yoga class. You can go on the machines. And it's in an environmentally awarded gold LEED facility.
Absolutely.
Or you can combine that and you can sit in a massage chair or take a nap. Mm-hmm. So many of our students commute. So when they're here for a long damn time before they go home.
Mm-hmm.
And now you've got the Valera Nest, where there was really no place on campus where you could heat up your lunch in a microwave unless you were really friendly with your department.
Exactly.
Your academic department.
And one of the things I think that we tend to do in the union is kind of set the tone for the rest of the campus.
Yeah.
So we brought in things like gender inclusive restrooms before the rest of the campus. And now the rest of the campus is doing those. So our hope is what we create with the basic needs suite and the Valera Nest is to have those kind of opportunities other places on campus as well. Because we're not the only place that can serve that need. But we should be the catalyst that inspires other people to do those kinds of things.
Is that because the USU is student-led? So they're the ones telling the rest of the campus what the students need?
Absolutely. I believe that. Because I think if we listen to students intently, they will tell us what they need. Uh-huh. And then our job is to, as I said before, is to be responsive to that and help them, or let's work with them to co-create those kinds of things. And they'll tell us, we had these nap pods, and we had the manufacturer said 20 minutes is how long a nap should be. So we did 20 minutes. We assessed that at the end of the semester, and the students said, I can't even relax in 20 minutes. Yeah. So we changed it to 45, and that works. So we have to listen to them. Mm-hmm. If we listen, we'll be able to create something that is really going to work with them. And, we also have worked with institutional research and asked them to look at the students who use the use the Oasis Wellness Center versus a similar group of students who didn't. And, looking at their semester grade point average, the students who use the Oasis, even if it was one time, those students' grade point averages were higher than the students who were the non-users.
Wow.
Yeah. And those students were also less likely to be on probation. So we also saw that what we were doing was truly impacting the students' ability to stay, to be engaged and to be students and to be successful. So that's what we do. Our everything we do is geared towards student success.
Now I'm going to ask to say something what I find very unique about the USU at CSUN versus other institutions. And before I came to the university, I was a reporter, and I covered higher education. I have never seen an institution of higher learning where the USU is so integrated into the conversation of the campus as a whole. Usually it's segregated because that's student. Does that make any sense? It's seen as a, and it's an auxiliary. It's a 501c3, so it shouldn't be. But here, the USU is integrated into the conversation about the mission and direction of the institution, regardless of the university president. It is so ingrained in the culture that it's part of the conversation. How did that happen?
Oh, boy. I think it happened in a variety of ways over time. I think one of the things as an auxiliary, I've seen other models where the student union was really separated from the institution, and they wore that like a badge of honor. And that didn't make sense to me because I'm like, we have a but-for relationship. We don't exist but for the university. So our job is to figure out how to support the university, and our job is to figure out how to support students. So anytime that there's a meeting or an opportunity to figure out how we can do that, we would insert ourselves, basically. It's like, that might be something we want to do. And we are known across campus as the collaborators. We tend to collaborate with faculty, with other departments, and we always try to figure out what is it that you want to do, and how does that meet our mission. And every decision that we make is mission driven. And we've changed our mission three times, I think, since I've been here. But it's always to kind of refine it more.
And what is the mission?
The mission really is to support the out-of-classroom experience for students, but it's focused on equity, diversity, student employment, and we do that through student employment, the facilities, and having innovative programs, services, and facilities. We also, at the very end, we want to make a place where students or matadors feel connected and respected. So that to us is kind of our driving force. And we focused, the last time we changed it, we really, even that experience is a good one to talk about. The students came up with a mission statement. We sent it to one of our staff members to kind of refine it. It came back to me, and I was like, okay, it looks pretty good. And we sent it. I said, we'll send it back to the students and see what they think. And the students said, this is not what we want. Doesn't really get at what we're trying to promote in terms of equity and inclusion and social justice and well-being. This is not what we said. So we sent it back to them. They refined it. Then we refined it a little bit more, and then we got to the place where we felt like we could take it to the board of directors for their approval. But it's a back and forth, and that's why I keep going back to that co-creation. We just can't take what they said and then interpret it in our language, which is a generational language that may be 2 or 3 generations apart, and think that we have it. So if we don't go back and do the checks and balances and go back to them, I think that's how we get a better product. So that's what the mission is all about.
How do you create an environment that truly everyone says they listen to their students. Everyone says they listen to their students. You hear it. I don't care if you're Columbia University or USC or Harvard or UCLA, whatever. Well, yeah, we listen to our students, but in this environment, you are listening. It's not performative. It's not paternalistic.
It's
It's respectful.
Yeah, it's actually ingrained in the culture. The student voice is the important piece in here. And it goes back to our organizational commitments. And the first one is student development. So our job is to help develop students to be better persons, be better individuals, be better professionals. And you can only do that if you talk to them, and truly listening to what they are saying and then testing. We're great at testing. We'll run a pilot program and see how it works and then refine from there. So the whole aspect of assessment is really built into our organization, but it comes from a place of being student focused first and then also being equity focused as well. So all of those things are important. And if we do that right, and that's part of every interview, every staff member that we hire, and it's part of their onboarding process so that they understand who we are as an organization, because everybody doesn't want to work in that kind of environment. Everybody's not cut out to work in that kind of environment. But my belief is we hire for attitude and we train for skill. So if we hire the right kind of individual, we can get them up to the skill level that we need them to have. But they have to have a heart that really connects with students and know, what's your why? Why are you here? And it's about service.
That's actually very scary because people, as they rise through the ranks, assume a certain level of assuredness that they know what the heck they're doing and that I am now an expert in XYZ. And now you have a 17-year-old, a 26-year-old student who is telling you, no, you're going that way, but the rest of us are going this way. That's scary for a lot of people.
It can be. I don't deny that, but I think there's a couple of things that have to happen in order. Number one, your ego has to be under control. You have to understand this is, one of the people I read all the time, he said, it's not about you, but it begins with you. So it's not about me. It's about the students. And I have to have enough humility, enough vulnerability, enough openness and transparency. And I always go and it's like, I have something on my wall that says, when the going gets tough, turn to wonder. And I always say, I wonder why they said that. And tell me more. And then you get the kind of answers. It's like, oh, I didn't think about that. Now I see. And, I think it's really important that we do that. So the higher up you go, I think the more important that becomes, and that's what I think has always kept me at the student union. I did a stint as the AVP for Dr. William Watkins in student affairs for a year. And and he's like, okay, so you're interested in a job? And I'm like, no. It was one of the hardest conversations I ever had because I didn't want to disappoint William because I respect him so much. But I knew my place and where I could make the most impact, have the most influence, and really do things that were great for the campus was in the students working in the student union, working with the students directly. So that's where I stayed.